Hello everybody, thanks for watching. On these videos, I had no intention of ever talking about network engineering or internet engineering or any of those kind of things, because this wasn't supposed to be my wife's phone's going off. This wasn't supposed to be about computers or technology. But a number of my friends said, no, you have to make a video on this, because back when I was still on active duty in the Air Force in the 90s, I wrote a letter about the domain name system. The domain name systems are just servers that resolve a human name like Walmart.com to a specific IP address, okay? And that's literally all they do. But the internet is a mesh, so they made it really redundant, so if there's no hierarchy really in the network itself as far as what leg of the internet you can use to get to point A to point B, you try to go, they have these tables, and I'm not going to go in depth in it, on the fastest way to get to a certain IP address, all right? But the bottom line is the government and a few major corporations, back in the day it was a company called Level 3 that had all the backbones to the internet. They still have backbones to the internet. But the DNS servers are supported by the government, and certain companies that have a lot of web services or internet services are providing. There's two main ones in the United States of America. One's in Virginia, the other one's in California. But the internet worldwide, because of how they set up the domain name system, has two single points of failure. They purposefully said that these DNS servers were going to be the king of the architecture, and they would send changes out to the thousands or now maybe millions of DNS. The problem with that is you have one guy, and I've maintained DNS servers, you have one guy make a typo, especially at the root of a DNS server or something, and you can literally blow up the internet. You can take big, huge chunks of it down real fast, and once you find and correct the problem, it could take 72 hours to fix it all. Totally fix it all. Because you got to remember, if you send out a wrongful change to all these DNS servers and they change, it could take a while to get all those DNS servers corrected. So they basically created single points of failure. And I can't remember when it was. I'm thinking it was 98 or 99. I requested a different DNS system, than the one we have always had. And was told you don't have a say in it, even if what you're saying is true, which it probably is, we're not going to change it. Now, since that time, we've had this happen, about once every 2 to 3 years. We have a DNS collapse like we just had due to either the server itself corrupting or a human being typing the wrong thing. Got to remember, even in a command, even an extra space at the higher level can cause a total network-wide crash. And there were a lot of us who wanted this system changed. And now you can see, a lot of people in the last few days can see why somebody like me who extensively uses the internet and has servers and works with the internet and has domains and all this would think that there could be a major problem, because there has been major problems. And also, because the government and these other people are involved in it, they start making rules, okay, about all the stuff you got to do with these DNS servers to maintain your systems, and with the WHOIS and the DNS working together, making a lot of rules for the people who use the internet. There are issues here. I can't even go over all the issues around with what the hierarchy of the internet is doing and has done. You know, forcing down levels of control that should have never been allowed, not even from the U.S. government, even though they started, once it was turned over to civilians, it should have been turned over to civilians. Originally, that was basically a military network that the military used, and colleges and universities used with the military and NASA and certain other areas. That's what it was made for back in 1969. But we have issues today with the internet, with domain names. Nobody in the world should have a right to know who that is, where they're from. It should be anonymity. And the DNS servers, the hierarchical DNS system, needs to be done away, needs to be changed. It's that simple. And now, if you want to know why it needs to be changed, look at what just happened, a few days ago. We're going to take out half the internet worldwide because some DNS server in Virginia had a typo. Yeah, enough is enough. Some people said, well, there's not a better system, to which I say, bullcrap. There's not a system that's easier for the government and a few companies to control. But there are lots of better systems that we could be using in 2025, than one that was invented in the early 80s. I don't think there are many people who are stupid enough to actually believe that the DNS resolver system that was made in, the early 80s as we know it today is somehow superior to the ideas that guys have come along now. Control of the internet, as far as DNS goes, has to be totally removed from government and big business, and another system for controlling the human name to an IP address, that has to be changed. There's got to be a better system. I said this back in the 90s, and I'm saying it now. You can't have a hierarchical DNS system because you're putting in single points of failure for the #1 world's communication system. Not smart, wasn't then, isn't now. It's time for a change. All right, thank you for listening to the Old Master Sergeant. Bye-bye.